What is up, YouTube? Dottz Gaming here, and today I am bringing you guys my updated add-on guide for Horns of the Reach. Basically, what happened, guys, is that something happened with Advanced UI and Horns of the Reach for me. It has caused my computer and my game to lag a significant amount inside of PvP combat, normally netting me probably an average of 20 to 25 FPS in PvP combat, which makes it just impossible to play. I don't know what happened. The add-on is updated, but because I'm having so many issues with it, I needed to get rid of it in order to be able to play my game, and because it did so many things, I've had to replace it with other add-ons, like multiple add-ons. So my list has changed a little bit since last patch, but this is my top add-ons for anyone looking for a really solid setup on PC. It works relatively well, the performance is okay, and it looks almost the same as my previous add-on setup. It actually looks almost the same, except for I'm just missing, of course, the little bar at the bottom for the consumables, but overall the add-on setup looks pretty much the same. There's just some minor changes. So I'm going to go over the add-ons in a list first. I'll tell you the add-on, a little description of what it does, and then afterwards I'll go over my setup. I'm going to do it that way so that if you don't care about my setup, you can just get what you need out of this video right in the beginning. So we're going to start with Advanced Member Tooltip. Basically, it just gives a detailed information about members of your guild. If you hover over them, it'll show that how much gold they've deposited, how much they've withdrawn, and how long they've been in your guild. It's basically mostly for guild masters or for officers. If you're not one of those, so you probably do not need that. Awesome. Guild Store makes the guild store system in the game much more robust, allows for much better sorting, allows for text searching. It's just, in my opinion, a very, very good add-on, especially if you're someone who likes to buy and sell things a lot. This is, in my opinion, a must-have. We have Combat Metrics, which is obviously replacing the DPS meter from Advanced UI. It is what I'm currently using. A lot of people use it. Very, very popular add-on, and has a lot of good performance customization, so it is one that I like. We have DarkUI, which basically gives ESO a night mode. Really, really love this one. We have Destinations, which shows places of interest on your map, such as vampire spawn locations, vampire and werewolf shrines. You have quest icons. You can just really, really customize this to show on your map as much or as little extra information about where things are as possible. It's a really, really nice addition to have, and in my opinion, one of the mandatory add-ons to at least play with if you're on PC. We have Dressing Room, which allows you to save gear and ability combinations. So if I have a PvE and a PvP gear and ability combinations, I could save those as two separate things and quickly load in and out of both of my gear sets without having to manually change each piece of gear and manually change each skill. It is the best. We also have Godsend. Again, this is more of a, if you're a guild master or a officer type of add-on, it allows you to mass send mail to members of your guild without having to click each member and message them individually. It will just type up your message, and then it'll go through each member of your guild one by one and send out the mail. We have Lorebooks, which is very similar to Destinations, but it shows all of the locations of the Lorebooks in-game on your map. Very helpful if you're going to play a Magicka character and use the Mage's Guild skill line. We have LUI Extended, which is the main add-on that is replacing Advanced UI. It does my buffs and debuffs. I did get rid of Surrender because it has it native. It does my unit frames, it does my party frames and group frames, and it does my combat text, at least for the messages. So that replaced AUI and Surrender. We also have Master Merchant. Should go without saying, Master Merchant's an amazing add-on. It basically keeps track of the purchases and selling of your guilds so that it can give you like a price for items. It'll show on the item, on the tooltip, what the average price is, how much people are selling it for, and just collects information about purchasing and sales from your different guild traders so that you can know what a piece of gear or an item is actually worth when you go to sell it. We have Research Assistant, which is used to keep track of traits that you have researched and traits that you have not researched. To my knowledge, ZeniMax is working towards making this native in the game. So we might need, if you're watching this during Clockwork City, you might not need this add-on anymore. But for the moment, we still do. Skyshards is part of the Lorebooks Destination Skyshards trifecta. Skyshards does the same thing as the other two, puts the icons of the Skyshards on your map. Again, in my opinion, if you're playing on PC, this is a must-have. And then Votan's Minimap is what I'm currently using for my Minimap in-game, since, again, AUI was handling my Minimap, and I had to get rid of it. Now we are going to move into the add-on configuration, how I have my add-on set up. So with Awesome Guild Store, I just kept the default, did not change any of the settings in here. For combat metrics, I brought the fight history down to 5. I'm never really going to be keeping track of, like, I think the default was like 14 fights or something like that. I'm never going to need 14 fights worth of data. Odds are, if I'm going to actually look through my combat log, like at a high detail and really look at what I did, it'll probably be after the fight to see how I did. I'll probably be testing it on a dummy, so I really don't need to save that many parses as a PvPer, so I just keep that down to 5. I also turn it off in Cyrodiil. I don't need it keeping track of if I'm, you know, in a large group of people. I don't need it keeping track of everyone's stuff. Also, with Cyrodiil, the performance in it is already bad enough. We don't need to be making it any worse. But otherwise, I'm pretty sure I have not touched anything else. DarkUI, once again, just installed it, didn't really touch anything. Destinations, I was going to say it's up to you. How you customize destinations is very much individual. How much stuff you want to see on your minimap versus how much stuff you do not care about seeing on your minimap. I'm pretty sure, though, the only thing that I added besides the default was that I show the vampire altars. And that's really it. As a vampire, if, you know, I want to give somebody a bite, I'm going to need to take them back to a vampire altar. So I don't really care about the spawns or the werewolf shrine. So I just added vampire altars to my map, but otherwise I left it at the default. Dressing room, I brought it down to 2 rows and 2 columns. I think the default is like you could have 8 possible gear saves or like something ridiculous like 12. Like it's a high amount that you can start with. So I just made it smaller, so that, as you can see here, I can only save up to 4 gear sets. I might even reduce this down to 2, because I'll really probably only have 2 gear sets on my Magicka DK. But again, this is just, you could adjust the rows and columns to your liking, but otherwise did not change anything in here. Lorebooks, again, I also left default. I'm going to skip LUI extended because that's where I did the majority of my configuration. Master Merchant left default, Research Assistant left default, Skyshards left default, and then for Votan's minimap, I have it basically showing at all times. There was a couple options in here that were checked, like show in combat. I turned that on. I think for default it was off. And then otherwise, I think I changed this border to ESO style, and I lowered the opacity to about, I was trying to get that at 50%, but I can't get it to 50. There we go. So I basically wanted to get this down to 50%. But yeah, otherwise I really did not touch anything in here. So, for LUI extended, the big one, I left this info panel options the same. I left for the combat info options, I actually did change this. So the combat info is basically your floating combat text. I do use the default ESO combat text, but the main thing that I don't like that the ESO combat text doesn't have is like informational stuff about when you're low on Magicka and when you're entering combat and when you're leaving combat. So I basically went in here and turned off all this shit. So I have the cloud type areas on. I left all this stuff here at the top on, and then I scrolled all the way down to alerts options, and I said, left enable active combat tips alerts. I left that on, and then I have miscellaneous enable combat state notification on. So that gives me all my alerts in the middle of the screen. I also up here, I think somewhere, there's an unlock areas. If you turn on, they'll all appear and you can move them around. So I moved them into the center of my screen. Then otherwise I left this damage meter off because as of the current time they're going to be getting rid of the damage meter on the LUI add-on. So I just left it off because they're getting rid of it, which is why I run combat metrics. For the buffs and debuffs, also did a lot of work here again because it was replacing Surrendar. I have it hide my target buffs. I go back and forth whether or not I want this on or off. I generally don't find myself really looking at that during combat. I'm more concerned with maintaining my buffs, my debuffs on my target and maintaining my own buffs. I'm not paying attention to my target's buffs for the most part. I'm able to see through spell effects and stuff what they really have running on them. I don't want to sift through the various buffs that LUI shows me and try to figure out, well, my god, what do they have up on them? It's easier to see through just the particles in game. But currently I have that hidden. If I find myself needing it, I will obviously turn this off and show them. But otherwise, in here, did not touch any of this up here. So for some of the long-term effects, I turned some of this off. Like, I don't need to see the long-term effects of my target, my Mundus Stone boon or my enemy's Mundus Stone. I don't need to see that they're a vampire or werewolf. I don't need to see their Cyrodiil bonuses, whether or not we have ESO+. vanity pet assistance. Like, I just turned a lot of this shit off that I don't really care about seeing in my buffs area. And then I left all this stuff down here on. The chat announce, I totally just turned this off because I found it ridiculously annoying. It announces everything in chat about what you do. If you loot something, if you touch something, if you look some way, if you laugh at someone, like, it shows every little thing you do in chat, and I found it extremely annoying, so I just turned it off. Now for the unit frames, I did a lot of work here. Basically, I just changed all of these to use extender. Display text overlay, use extender, use extender, use extender. It basically just uses LUI's default-ish unit frames. It has one of those, like, unit and target, like, panes, like the square panes. I don't like those. I like the look of the default frames where it's got the health, magic, and stamina bar. I just prefer that. And then there is an option to automatically center them, so you don't have to do it yourself this time. There is an option to automatically center them. I left all this stuff the same. All of this stuff the same. I personally turned off smooth bar transition because it says disabling this option could improve performance a little bit, and I'm always I'm a sucker for performance, so I turned this off just to see if maybe it'll improve performance. I'm not sure if it actually does or not, but currently I have it turned off. May turn it back on one day, I do not know. Again, turned off the custom unit frames. I don't like those boxy unit frames. I just, again, do not like them for ESO, so I have them turned off. I left the group frames on and did not touch anything down here. Did not touch anything in the PvP frames. And that is about it. For a lot of the add-ons, guys, I'm just letting you guys know you're going to need to go into your keybinds and set a keybind for them. So as you can see, LUI Extended has their own keybinds. Combat Metrics has their keybinds. Godsend has their keybinds. Minimap, Dressing Room, Master Merchant. So if you find yourself not seeing the specific add-on that you have installed in this section, odds are there's a keybind that needs to be bound in order for it to pop up, so just keep that in mind when you are setting up and configuring your add-ons. But anyway, guys, that is all I have for you today. Just wanted to go over my updated add-ons. I get asked about my add-ons constantly, so because I changed something, I knew that I was going to need to release a video right away so that people were getting the correct information with my add-ons. Again, if anything changes, I will I will pin a comment below. I'm still been testing out my add-ons because ever since Horns of the Reach came out, I have just had major performance issues in-game across the board. It's just been honestly a freaking mess. I hope Clockwork City fixed a lot of it. But if I make any changes to my UI, just so I don't have to make an entirely new video, I will pin it in a comment below. So if I recommend checking to see if there's a pinned comment, because if there isn't, I haven't made any changes, and this is exactly what I'm running. And if there is, that pinned comment will tell you what I've changed and what I've adjusted in order to make this all work the best as possible. But if you guys found this add-on guide helpful, and if you plan on using stuff like this yourself, I would appreciate if you left a like on the video. And of course, for more great ESO content, videos, and streams, hit that sub button as well as hit the little bell next to it to actually make the sub button alert you to when I do things on YouTube. For those of you who do not know, I also do stream. I stream here on YouTube, and I also restream to Twitch, and that is 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday and Wednesday. So by all means, please come by the stream and hang out with us live. Again, guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.